just okay, that's okay. Just okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Oh shit! Hold it. Stop. Hold it. Okay. Just once. I'm sure you can just. No, wrong. Hold it. Okay, just. Hello, talk to me. Work. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Even though your catfish is empty. It's oh shit, son of a bitch. Just a second. Hold it. I can do this. Yeah, okay. Hold it. Come back here.
Nun zur Erbauung. Lieber Mann, wollen Sie nicht sagen, was mit Ihnen geschehen ist, seit Sie Ihre Mutter zum letzten Mal gesehen haben?
Okay.
Wir singen das Lied
Pause.
in der Jugend goldenem Schimmer.
This is weird. Stop it. I want you to pause. Okay. Alright, just a second. Come on. What?!
Can I get $5 from you?
Nick, could you wait just
No!
4 minutes? No, you're going to wait 4 minutes, please. Please? Thank you, whatever. Wonderful caviar. Okay. Shh. Okay. Why won't you do what I tell you? Hold it. Son of a gun. Hold it. Just it opens up. And then, what do you need $5 for, Lisa?
I gave you $5 and you give it back to me.
What?
I lent you $5 like a week ago.
Really? In what parallel universe is this? Hold it. You can't be hold it. Thank you, Lisa. Hold it. All right. Shh. Try it one more time. Come on. All right. Okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Lisa! Do you know? Okay, Lisa, you gotta leave now, alright? You're gonna have to go now. You're gonna have to go. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Alright, let's do it one more try. Just once. Just the one time, okay? Just let it work. Okay. Here we go.
Last week I was taken to urgent care, and after many tests, the doctor said to me, "You have cervical cancer." And he said, "You didn't do anything wrong, and we're going to see what we can do to help you." Then began the treatments of radiation and chemotherapy, and feeling weaker and weaker. One night I had a dream. On my right-hand side was my mother, and on my left-hand side was my father. And my father said to me, "You can do this. You can do it." My mother whispered in my ear and said, "You must have faith." And then I heard this chanting. And there was a circle of people who started dancing around me. They were all the people who had ever loved me, all my friends, all my relatives, and even my ancestors. And in the center of the circle, I see my grandmother, and she comes towards me and opens her arms to hug me. And from her hands comes out all this light. And I felt overwhelming gratitude for all the love I had been given. I awoke and felt that this was a moment where something had been awakened in me that had not been recognized in a long time.
Vente a Spaiari, medicina yari. Vente a Spaiari, medicina yari. Renati yari, ay naranai, laranai, lairanai. Ay naranai, 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 naranai.
It looks great. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Should we start Okay, greetings everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion of turn 1 of 3 turns. I'm going to mute everyone now, just to reduce the potential for echo, and just make sure to unmute yourself if you're going to speak later on. I muted myself. And just in case you're watching on YouTube and you're trying to join the Zoom but having trouble with the link on the SFAI website, just refresh the page and the link has been updated so you'll be able to enter the Zoom. So we are thrilled to welcome you all to this first exhibition produced in partnership between SFAI and SF Artists Alumni, also known as SFAA. SFAA is SFAI's independent alumni organization, which formed in March of last year as a means to keep SFAI alumni together and safeguard the legacy of the school through its people and collaborative projects. My name is Nikki Korth, and I'm the outgoing alumni relations staff at SFAI and also an alumna myself. Many people were involved in the manifestation of this exhibition partnership, and we just want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank all the people who made this possible on the back end. So first and foremost, thank you to Kat Trataris, former Director of Partnerships and Programs at SFAI, without whom this partnership and exhibition would not have been possible. Chris Paddock, SFAI's Technical Director and the person running the show behind the scenes. Margaret Tedesco and Leila Weefur, the curators of SFAI's 150th anniversary exhibition, A Spirit of Disruption, and the people who selected the films from SFAI's archive to which alumni artists are responding in the program we're seeing today. And lastly, but very importantly, enormous thanks to SFAA's exhibitions team for driving this exhibition that creatively uses our collective tools in this crucial moment to get the work, ideas, and visions of SFAI alumni and our shared history to the public and to bring us together in viewership and discussion. So thank you, Maria Barbas, Lucy and Lou, and huge thanks to Beth Waldman. Beth is SFAA's exhibitions and programming lead and the mastermind behind every turn of 3 turns. I'll turn it over now to Beth, who's going to be our moderator for the evening, who will say more about the program and the panelists for tonight. So thank you, Beth, and welcome all.
Wow, thank you so much, Nikki. It's definitely my pleasure to be kicking off the first night, turn 1 of 3 turns. And I just wanted to start by congratulating all the featured artists this evening. And thank you to all of you who are joining us tonight. The idea behind 3 turns comes from a concept commonly remembered by San Francisco Art Institute alumni. Our professors emphasize the experience an artwork can provide its viewer by offering them 3 different entry points. 3 turns looks to exemplify this approach to art making with its intergenerational and multifaceted collaborative project. 3 turns. Between SFAI, film archive artists, and SFAI alum. I wanted to start by introducing our esteemed juror, Kathy Brew, who's here with us tonight from New York City. Thank you so much, Kathy, for staying up late with us. We're so happy that you selected the works that are featured tonight on turn 1. And all of these works are in response to now Bustamante's Untitled #1 from the series Earth People, 2507. Kathy is an award-winning filmmaker whose work includes documentaries, experimental work, and public television productions. She recently served as a curator at the Museum of Modern Art's Documentary Fortnight from 2016 to 2020. Kathy also teaches at the School of Visual Arts MFA Art Practice Department. She was a Fulbright Scholar in 2018 and spent 4 months in Peru, a place dear to my heart, where she worked on the editing of Following the Thread, a short film about Indigenous weaving communities. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And also here with us is now Bustamante, Dr. Now Bustamante. We're so thrilled. Thank you for coming. Now is a legendary artist residing in Los Angeles. Her precarious work encompasses performance art, video installation, visual art, filmmaking, and writing. Now is an alumna of the San Francisco Art Institute's New Genres program. And in 2020, she was awarded an honorary doctorate degree from SFAI. She also attended, the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture. and currently now holds a position of professor of art at the USC Roski School of Art and Design. She there serves as the director of the MFA in art. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
Been
you,
very
Beth.
excited about this evening with the two of you. Before I get started, I wanted to encourage all Zoom attendees to enter your questions and comments into the chat field. Definitely do my best to address as many as we can, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A time during the second half of this discussion. So great. Well, I just wanted to jump in and ask you now, what is your experience tonight seeing the responses to your film work?
Well, first I just have to comment on Kathy Brew's very noir vibe tonight with that incredible purple blue light and the fat cats roaming around her house. I love it. Very cinematic. Thanks, Beth. And I have to just thank Leila and Margaret for selecting my work to be responded to. It was really actually quite an honor and quite incredible to have people respond to my work. Although I did read one of the artist statements saying he made the work before seeing the film, but felt like it was in the same vein. But I'm into that because I think there's, I'm not really interested as much. I mean, I'm interested in linear time, but I do believe in a kind of fluidity of time and a sort of influence where you could foresee something or be in line with something, even if you've never experienced it directly. So I was kind of digging that, but yeah, it was super cool just to see the way the works fit together in a maybe more abstract way, but then also the way the sound scores sort of came in and out, and some of the works. I mean, well, this idea that the works would somehow have a conversation, or one would take over more visually than the other at different times, and that was also really cool. So yeah, it was a huge honor. I quite enjoyed it.
Well, it's a great honor for us too, and it's great to know that you and Kathy have actually had many touch points over the years, and that she as a juror had the basis to know your practice so well upon entering the juried process. So yeah, Kathy, I was curious how you were reading the selected works tonight, the response works, since you were coming with that foundation to selecting them.
Sure.
I'm
well,
curious about your connections.
And just so people who may not know it, I'm not an alumni in terms of being a student at SFAI, but I worked there twice. So I consider myself an honorary alumni. And it had a huge impact on my life during the time that I lived there. And yes, I go way back. And Nao, I didn't know you were pronounced now. Excusez-moi. I didn't know.
It's okay.
It's been a while, honey.
Yeah, I mean, I've just had a pronunciation change. I didn't change my gender or anything. It's easy.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Someone said it the other day and I said, well, I know her as Nao, but okay, whatever.
I know her from the 90s.
Exactly. I think we actually first met when you were, I mean, of course I knew of your work before, but the big connection was with the robotic opera, Trigram.
Right, with Chico McMurtry.
Chico McMurtry and Mark Steger and
yeah, Osseous Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Hannah Sim, R.I.P. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, and I just heard Diana Trimble's R.I.P. too.
Yes, and yeah, it's been a tough time, I think, in general, but then
yeah,
it's been tough.
We also crossed paths back here on this coast when you were at RPI with that whole gang, because I would travel up there for crits with some of that gang, and I remember Fufu.
Yeah.
From Digital Flaherty up at RPI and other things, but what can I say? I mean, it's the selection that I chose, again, not into any kind of literal relationship as much as either conceptual or aesthetic relationship to Now's work. But before we even go into that further, I'd like now to just talk about her piece and Untitled #1 from the series Earth People, and what year that was made and what triggered that creation.
Sure. Well, it's interesting. You remember Fufu so well because that's the dog who played the buffalo, and everyone who met her really had a strong impression of her. And she was very much a little tiny diva. And I remember I was living in New York at the time of making that, and I was going in town to visit Jose Munoz and talking to him about the work. And he really was like, I don't think your dog's going to be able to play a buffalo. And then it took about 6 months of growing her hair out and shaping it with the groomer. And one day I just showed up with her looking like a buffalo at his apartment, and he was completely astounded. And I remember walking Fufu in Central Park and so many people asking me, what kind of dog is that? And I would just say, she's a poodle, poodle or buffaloodle, or I just kept making things up. It was such a ridiculous time, but the work kind of came about because at that point in my life, there's a organization called the Hemispheric Institute of Performance and Politics that's based out of NYU, and they selected several artists to archive in Iron Mountain, which, if you're not familiar with Iron Mountain, it houses a huge amount of cultural artifacts of our contemporary world, like all the Sony films and all the music, and it's just like you can never visit, but they house it underground in these mines, and they clean it, they play it, and they upgrade the technology every 10 years. So it's this really interesting place that's supposed to hang on to work into perpetuity. And so they had taken several of my performances and films into the archive, and I wanted to make a film for a screening that would happen, in 500 years later. So at that point, I was thinking about, I was really trying to get an institution to sign on to screening the film in 500 years. But I wasn't able to get anyone to actually sign on for that. Maybe SFAI, with its remarkable staying power, will sign on to screen it in 500 years from now. But basically, once I decided, first I had a really terrible time thinking about what language would be like in 500 years. And then I started thinking about how any kind of technology I tried to use would completely be out of date. And so I just sort of went with it and, filmed a lot of it on my cell phone and, pulled clips from the internet and just kind of, did a pastiche, a mishmash of imagery and tried to work in a more sort of poetic, symbolic language. And at the time I was thinking a lot about the myth of the white buffalo calf woman, who is this Native American archetypal figure that came back to Earth to teach people to pray and be in harmony. But I don't really feel like I lay claim to any kind of, Native American myths. So I was thinking kind of riffing off of this idea of like a trans species idea. So this kind of playing a joke on people in 500 years, so it was kind of a silly work, but I really enjoyed making it, and it actually ended up getting some traction, and it screened at Sundance New Frontiers, and so it did pretty well for the little film, and I think it was really fun taking Fufu to Sundance, and we made her a little miniature badge and took her around and did all the step and repeat stuff with her. So it was
Well, that's terrific. It's great to hear about this idea of 500 years, and a lot of the works that responded to your piece or worked in that vein definitely held a strong theme of time, of gestures of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, one sort of symbolic element that also stuck out was the train in your piece. And there's just, so I love the fact that the background of it was this idea to make it happen in the future. And even the mythology that you're bringing up now, like the merging of the dog. I mean, that was great when, it was very playful to see that gesture come in of the hand and to note that is that a buffalo? And then no, that's a puppy, to bring together, to merge, two different animals, and you're merging, time and these beautiful symbols of extreme different points of, civilization, from ballet dancers to buffalo, from the working man to, some idea of success, for man, some notable monumental symbols.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that idea of, mythology is carried on there quite beautifully. I'm curious, like how, where, how you might see that play out in some of the response films too. Um, did you feel like there were any
Oh
more?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the films were very playful. A lot of the films had that kind of feeling of time being marked through repetitive um, motion, and also that pastiche quality. And I love the cat, the hairless cat wearing the hair shirt, and just all kinds of kind of transgenic mutation was happening. So yeah, repeating patterns. I saw a lot of responses in the films. Hmm.
Well, and there's also the evocation coming from the West Coast, where you all are, of the West, and
Hmm.
sort of manifest destiny, and the obsolescence, and the endangered species and nature kinds of elements coming into play as well. Um,
Yes.
Yeah, no, that there, and you mentioned technology and where technology might stand, in X number of years, especially in archiving or changing any digital or film work. And in the presentations and the response work, notably, there were very different uh, levels of, technology used too. Some more high end, like almost in the video game sort of
Hmm.
realm, and some very poetic with paper, like
Yeah.
Jackie Butis used like paper to construct the cityscape. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I was, and Kathy, in exploring the works, did you consider kind of selecting a mixture of,
oh, definitely. There was, and there, we were asked to pick about a half hour's worth of work, and some might have even still been worthy to have made it in. But yes, part of it was to, when I curate work, I often am very much conscious of trying to present a breadth of styles and technique, as well as ideas and sensibilities. So yeah, I think that was a factor. So, and coming out of SFAI with, the film and the performance video department, that what I guess is now called new genres, wanting to see that some of those disciplines were all included in the selection.
well,
I think they are.
thank you. Yeah, I'm curious, just both of you, like, were there certain film works that stuck out to you that you might want to comment on, or elements from certain film works that intrigued you the most from the response works?
Well, I really liked, I mean, I loved all the work. One of the later ones, Dipali Ratha, is that, am I saying that reasonably well? Anyway, the trumpet, the person playing the trumpet in the pool. I love the way the sound kind of blended in the when I was watching it being projected, and just I mean, the action was, fabulous as a performance, but then I also really, because I was just really hoping she was gonna like go full on, and then she did, which was great. But then the visuals. It was just something was, exciting but soothing about that work, I think, and so I really enjoyed that pairing. But yeah, I mean, all the work was really outstanding. I don't know, Kathy, do you have a
You
favorite?
know what? I don't think hierarchically that way. It's like apples and oranges, and I
Yeah.
really I don't think that way, so I can't really answer that question.
Oh, I know it's a tough one. Well, I think we're lucky to have a few of our participating artists from Turn One with us here on Zoom, and I wanted to give them the opportunity and the community spirit to jump in and ask questions or share with us all, why they chose your film to respond to and what they connected with. So let's see. I know we're all unmuted. Let's see if I was going to see if somebody might hold up their hand, and Maria, you could unmute them. Or
yeah, Deepali is actually here.
Oh.
She just commented and said thank you. She was listening to now when you were commenting on her film. There are a couple of other artists here. Lauren is here. So please go ahead, and artists, it's your turn now. Unmute yourself and ask your question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Go ahead. Don't be shy.
Hi, Lauren. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lauren Jade Zabo, alumni from 2018, from the painting department, actually. And post-grad school, I began experimenting a bit more. Those costumes that Lauren Godla and Kristen Rolifson were wearing were painted. So I'm bringing paint into a more interdisciplinary approach and working with performers to activate these painted artworks. And as Kathy mentioned, I was really responded to commentary on the Western landscape and Manifest Destiny. And as you saw, Lauren and Kristen were suspended over the Smith River. And sort of, we had one blue figure and one orange figure, the orange sort of blending into the land and the blue into the river. It was playful, but also poignant with issues of the American Western landscape. So yeah, I chose your film because I thought it was the best fit. Yeah, so to be honest, this piece was made before I saw your film in the call, but it was a response to Shelter in Place. The piece was created remotely, so the collaborations have been growing a lot more since Shelter in Place through need, which has been really exciting. So we were supposed to perform together in March. However, with Shelter in Place, this piece was birthed out of that and felt really like an unexpected blessing. The work lately seems like it's needs to be more responsive and more empathetic these days. So that's the direction it's going lately. Thank you for
congratulations to you and to anyone who's actually making work right now. It is hard. I've made a couple of pieces and it is like pulling teeth right now to make work. So congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you. Feels like there's a need and there's definitely time and which makes the practice conducive.
Yeah,
there is, and yet I think everybody just was now is kind of alluding to that it's also there's all this time, but then there's this kind of fog of the plague and then the politics, and at least we're like releasing some of the intensity of that second one. And I mean, we're not out of the woods, but we're into some new territory, thankfully. But I know a lot of people that feel rudderless with all this time on their hands, and creative people, and are finding it hard to get focused and make work. So I would agree with now to just
everything's just a lot slower for me right now in terms of completing actions and keeping things in my head. And
yeah,
yeah,
we have to embrace the different paces of time. And I, like Kathy said, new territory indeed keeps getting thrown on at us. So it's a good time to absorb. And yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Three Turns is reawakening and bringing so much work together in that spirit. And Brandon, I see you're here. Would you like to chime in? One of our participating artists, Brandon Truscott.
Sure, yeah. I'm a alumni from about 2009, I think. And I was design and technology. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you all. And I'm glad to be included. Mine was I think it was the first piece there called entitled Sunrise. I really responded to the natural environment that was in your work now. It just reminded me, of like Stanley Kubrick's 2001. I mean, I know everybody probably brings that up about everything, but I still love that as a master work. And just the mysticism, I felt like there was a mysticism somehow in your work about the natural environment. It's almost like a worship, like you said. I didn't know the background that you were talking about the Native American, symbolism and all that, but I got that feeling from it. And I've been doing some work in the natural environment down Capitol Reef National Park. I'm living in Utah now. And I got up before the sunrise one day and I don't know, there was just some kind of feeling, mysticism about the worship of the sun and all of that. And so I just felt like it tied into that same natural environment. There's several quotes that I like from Stanley Kubrick, but maybe I can just read one real quick. He says, "The most terrifying fact about the universe is not that it is hostile, but that it is indifferent. But if we can come to terms with this indifference, then our existence as a species can have genuine meaning. However vast the darkness, we must supply our own light." Anyway, there's so many that he has that I appreciate. And I think when he was young and growing up, he'd go to the MoMA and watch these experimental films. And that influenced a lot of his filmmaking. And I just got that, I don't know, something, I still love it. And I got that feeling kind of from yours. So I was trying to respond to that a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that part of it is that the music on my film is so epic. And so I think that lends, to, and I was kind of going for that, like an overblown vibe with the music, to add a kind of layer of epic, importance and playing with that. But thank you for that. That was cool. And the film was very beautiful that you made, Brandon. And I appreciate that. And there's another Stanley Kubrick quote that I use a lot when I'm working on a film with collaborators, where he said, "There's no you, there's no me, there's just the movie." And so I think about that when I'm working with other people, because it could get really intense when you're collaborating.
Very true.
Great point. Well,
There's
Brandon,
one more artist that also, Deepali also wanted to say something real quick.
yes, thank you.
Hi. I wanted to say thank you to everyone. First of all, like Kathy, Beth, and Neo. Thank you very much for having me here. And I was so inspired by your work. And actually, I never had a chance to look at your website or anything. But when I went through everything, I was so excited about it, and I was so happy that I did a work in response with your work. And when I just saw that first sentence in your work, which says, "Does a species judge time by their own passage?" I started thinking about only one species capable of doing that, and that is a human species, and which they don't do, because they don't judge their own time ever. And the passage is something which I'm working on right now. I'm pursuing MFA. I'm in a second year, and my thesis is on the passage, the passage of time and liminality. So yeah, I was so excited to be part of this, and being beside you was a great honor. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I loved your film.
Yeah.
And Deepali is with us. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
You made the work in response to Neo's. It wasn't a pre-existing piece, or
it was it was because I was working on the passage as my thesis project, so it was a part of what I was thinking already, but it just went well with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
did
and
you?
like the announcement and like the trumpet, which is like signaling the announcement and so, yeah.
Thank
Where
you.
did
And
you
The
actually?
Paul,
event.
oh,
What's that, Kathy?
I asked where she actually shot it. I mean, it's a little complicated shooting in that pool.
Yeah, so I am in Vancouver right now in Canada, and it was done in this COVID times, and I went to a hotel. I just booked the room just to get that swimming pool because no other swimming pool were allowing me to get get into like the pool with clothes, and like nobody is giving membership right now because of COVID, and the hotel was like so empty. They're like, we are free. So
That's
I was like,
great.
okay, yeah.
Is the trumpet okay?
Right.
Trumpet, yeah, trumpet is okay. Actually, it's working fine.
It's waterproof, huh?
Yeah, I thought like it might just like be spoiled, but it's still working.
that's awesome. Well, and I know you're with us all. She has 3 film works in 3 turns. So DePaulie's featuring
great.
different work each night. So we love that, and such an expansive breadth of work, very unique work. So yeah, thank you for being here with us tonight. I want to check in and see if there are any other artists from.
Or maybe is Margaret Tedesco on? Or Leila?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if Margaret or Leila are on.
If you are, please unmute yourself.
Or yeah, if as you say, any of the other art.
I don't think they're here today, unfortunately. Maybe one of the other days, but I couldn't find them today.
Okay.
Unless they are hiding behind another name, that's possible.
Well, I want to just see if anyone else in the audience wants to ask a final question before we wrap up. I didn't see any other questions in the chat at this moment.
Well, we have another Kubrick quote by
we go.
Brandon. The test of a work of art is, in the end, our affection for it, not our ability to explain why it is good.
Sure, why not?
Very true. Why not, right? Any other questions here? Last chance for everyone today. Jennifer Locke is here. Welcome. And Christina. Any other questions? Everyone satisfied?
Well, I just have to ask now, what is the buffalofieldcampaign.org? That was at the end of your film.
That's a campaign that is still going on. That's to help buffaloes living in the national parks.
Okay.
Because they, they have a lot of problems with farmers that the buffaloes come into their land or they graze on their pastures, and if the buffaloes step off of their designated area, they can be shot, they can be killed. So there's a kind of a campaign to loosen that up and help to protect the buffaloes. Also, while we're here, I did get a text from Margaret saying that she's watching, but she's not on Zoom.
Okay.
All right.
And it looks like there's something from Jennifer Locke.
Yes. Now there's a human dancer in your video piece. Is that you? And if so, can you talk a moment about you and Fufu's relationship to dance and movement?
Well, the dancer's not me. The dancer is actually young women from a dance club at RPI. And in the art building that I used to teach in, it was like an old Civil War hospital. And they had this this big stage, and a lot of the clubs would have their events there, like drag shows or dance shows, that kind of thing. So the university clubs would meet there. And one of the clubs that met there was the dance club. And I just was sitting in one of the old chairs and filming it on my phone. And I just, it's sort of like sometimes with work that I make, it's very scripted out and art directed and that kind of thing. And other times it's I can kind of get into a flow or zeitgeist with my environment. and see how things are fitting together, you know, in the way that you just kind of fit together your life as you're walking around and seeing things. And I do really enjoy both kind of processes. So those were women that I just filmed from the dance club while I was sitting there. And you know, Fufu had a really interesting quirk about her, that whenever she would hear a toaster, she would come running into the room. Whenever she'd hear like a metal or toaster oven or toaster clicking. And I'm not really sure exactly how it developed. I think it might have developed in the break room at school. And she would just like come running in like the room like a banshee, like screaming like, yeah, you know, kind of thing. And so we ended up using that. She's been in about 7 films, not just my films, but other films. She was in a film by Silas Howard, who's also a oldie but goodie from San Francisco. And they made a film based on, it was a short film based on one of Michelle T's short story books. And in the film, there was a role for a dog, and I ended up, you know, working on the film as a kind of coordinator. Anyway, so we ended up using the shot. We called it the toaster shot, where we put the camera on the ground, and someone was with Fufu outside of the room, and we clicked the toaster, and Fufu tore off into the room and ran directly into the camera with her nose. And that was the last shot of the film. So that actually was used also by another artist, Marcus Quillen Nazario, who's a sometimes collaborator of mine. He was dog sitting her one time, and he had a performance, and he ended up doing a performance about desire and bringing a toaster onto the stage. And, you know, Fufu just went nuts and became part of the performance. So I wasn't even there for that. It was just, she had her own life as a performer.
These are all the tricks of the trade, right?
Yeah.
Back to Buffalo for a second. Are there still Buffalo in Golden Gate Park? Does anybody know?
I believe so. Yes. I mean, unless
sure.
Yes.
They're all female.
Oh.
And that, I think.
Yes. Sarah Kennedy says yes too.
And there was the text in your piece now, which I think was an interesting, you know, question that triggered, I think, some of my thinking towards the other work. Does a species judge time from its own passage?
Say that again?
Does a species judge time from its own passage?
Yes.
So I thought that was an important concept.
I absolutely. That is, yeah, that's original text. I just, again, it's part of that process of sort of pastiching your life together and thinking through, you know, and I think I tend to ride the line with my work between, you know, a kind of interest in philosophy and spirituality, but then also kind of not taking myself too seriously or making fun of my own desire for creating meaning in the world. And I think that it really comes through in this work as well as other projects.
Well, I think that's a great summary, because going back to the idea of 3 turns, you know, the entry points we have to have as artists to bring our audience in, that connection. I mean, the puppies, the rainbows, you know, but there are the layers, and so we always have to think, how are we going to have someone stop and enter and engage, you know, further and further with our work. Well, so goes the idea of, at some level, you know, that inspired the title of 3 turns. But I just, with a little time limit, and I know New York time keeps getting later and later, as it is everywhere, I just want to wrap up and say thank you both so very much for being here. It's really an honor to have you participate, and feeds the whole idea of this project of bringing together, you know, our extended community of SFAI, of staff, faculty, and alum, many who are all participating here with our 3 turns project. And so thank you very much, Kathy. And
All the artists. Without them, this wouldn't be existing. So
yes, and thank you. Yeah, all the featured artists, some of whom are showing multiple evenings with us this weekend. We will have turn 2 of 3 turns tomorrow night, starting at 7 West Coast time, and at 7, just after 7:30, we'll have 2 other wonderful guests joining us, and Sunday as well. So please return, and thank you. Congratulations to all the artists. Thanks for being part of this special exhibition.
Yeah, thank you, and also kudos to the tech team who are pulling this off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's Christopher Paddock with a big shout out, and he's also telling me to remind everyone that there's an encore screening right after the panel. So
Yes.
if you hop back on YouTube, you can see an encore screening with all the films we just also discussed today. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, an encore presentation. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three.
Okay, that's okay. Just okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Oh shit! Hold it. Stop. Stop. Hold it. Okay. Just once. I'm sure you can just. No, wrong. Hold it. Okay, just. Hello, talk to me. Word. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Even though your catfish is empty. Oh shit, son of a bitch. Just a second. Hold it. I can do this. Yeah, okay. Hold it. Come back here.
Nun zu erbauen. Lieber Mann, wollen Sie nicht sagen, was mit Ihnen geschehen ist, seit Sie Ihre Mutter zum letzten Mal gesehen haben?
Okay.
Wir singen das Lied
Pause.
in der Jugend goldenem Schimmer.
This is weird. Stop it. I want you to pause. Okay. Alright, just a second. Come on. What?
Can I get $5 from you?
Nick, could you wait just
No.
4 minutes? No, you're going to wait 4 minutes, please. Please. Thank you, whatever. Wonderful vocabulary. Okay. Shh. Okay. Why won't you do what I tell you? Hold it. Son of a gun. Hold it. Just it opens up. And then, what do you need $5 for, Lisa?
I gave you $5 and you need to give it back to me.
What?
I lent you $5 like a week ago.
Really? In what parallel universe is this? Hold it. You two keep it. Hold it. Thank you, Lisa. Hold it. All right. Shh. Try it one more time. Come on. All right. Okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Lisa! Ding it up. Lisa, we gotta leave now, alright? You're gonna have to go now. You're gonna have to go. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Alright, let's do it one more try. Just once. Just the one time, okay? Just let it work. Okay. Here we go.
Last week I was taken to urgent care, and after many tests, the doctor said to me, "You have cervical cancer." And he said, "You didn't do anything wrong, and we're going to see what we can do to help you." Then began the treatments of radiation and chemotherapy, and feeling weaker and weaker. One night I had a dream. On my right-hand side was my mother, and on my left-hand side was my father. And my father said to me, "You can do this. You can do it." My mother whispered in my ear and said, "You must have faith." And then I heard this chanting. And there was a circle of people who started dancing around me. They were all the people who had ever loved me, all my friends, all my relatives, and even my ancestors. And in the center of the circle, I see my grandmother, and she comes towards me and opens her arms to hug me, and from her hands comes out all this light. And I felt overwhelming gratitude for all the love I had been given. I awoke and felt that this was a moment where something had been awakened in me that had not been recognized in a long time.
Vente a espalhar medicina, yari. Vente a espalhar medicina, yari. Renaki, yari. Ay, naranai, laranai, lairanai. Ay, naranai, 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 naranai.